The city was still awake when Marcus left his office that evening. For years, his routine had been the same: arrive early, leave late, and return home to a house that felt more like a museum than a home. The tall glass windows of his penthouse apartment caught the last light of the setting sun, but Marcus usually never saw it. By the time he arrived, night had already settled, and silence filled the marble-floored rooms. But today was different. For reasons he couldn't fully explain, Marcus decided to leave work early. Perhaps it was the sudden quietness of the boardroom after his last meeting, or maybe it was the subtle ache in his chest when he saw a father pick up his daughter outside the building, the little girl laughing as if the whole world belonged to her. Whatever it was, Marcus closed his laptop earlier than usual, told his driver to take him home, and let the city blur past the tinted windows. The streets looked different at this hour, warmer somehow, touched with the glow of late afternoon. Cafes were still open, couples walked hand in hand, and children played near the fountains. Marcus leaned his head against the glass and realized he hadn't walked these streets without purpose in years. His life was a calendar of numbers, deals, contracts, and meetings. He had built empires, but somewhere along the way, he had misplaced something simple. When the car finally pulled into the driveway of his estate, Marcus felt an unfamiliar weight in his chest. The house loomed large, silent as ever, its white pillars glowing faintly in the fading light. He dismissed the driver with a nod, choosing to walk in alone. The moment he opened the front door, he expected the usual stillness. But instead, a soft sound reached him. Laughter. Not the laughter of guests, not the forced politeness of dinner parties. This was lighter, freer. It floated through the hallways like music. Marcus froze. Slowly, carefully, he followed the sound. His polished shoes clicked against the marble, each step echoing louder than he wished. He turned a corner, and stopped. There, in the living room, the long-forgotten fireplace burned with a gentle flame. On the carpet, his daughter Zara sat cross-legged, surrounded by coloring books, markers scattered in bright little circles around her. She was drawing, her hair falling loosely across her face, her laughter filling the room as she spoke to someone unseen. And beside her, on the floor, was the family's elderly housekeeper, Maria. She was laughing too, her hands smudged with green and blue from helping Zara with the drawings. The two of them were so absorbed in their small world of colors and giggles that they hadn't noticed Marcus standing in the doorway. He felt his throat tighten. Zara's laughter was rare these days. He remembered when she used to run into his arms, when she would beg him to play, when her joy had been the center of his evenings. But work had called him away, again and again, until her laughter had grown quieter, reserved for others. For Maria, for friends at school, for anyone but him. And now, watching her, Marcus felt something crack inside him. He leaned against the doorframe, unnoticed, his eyes stinging. It wasn't jealousy that pained him, but the realization of how much he had missed. How many evenings like this had passed without him. How many small, irreplaceable moments had slipped through his fingers while he was busy chasing numbers on a screen. Maria looked up first. Her smile faded when she saw him, but before she could rise, Marcus shook his head gently. He didn't want to break the spell. Zara followed her gaze, and when her eyes met his, the room went quiet. For a moment, Marcus was afraid. Afraid of what he might see in her face: distance, resentment, indifference. But instead, Zara's lips curved into a hesitant smile. "Papa," she whispered. It was such a small word, but it carried the weight of everything he had lost and everything he still had a chance to hold onto. Marcus stepped forward, his voice trembling. "Can I join you?" Zara's eyes widened, as if the idea surprised her. Then, slowly, she nodded. She pushed one of the coloring books toward him. "You can use the red," she said softly. Marcus sat down on the floor, his expensive suit crumpling against the carpet. He picked up the red marker, his hands awkward, clumsy. For years, his fingers had signed contracts worth millions, but now they trembled as he tried to stay inside the lines of a simple drawing of a tree. Zara watched him, then giggled. "You're not very good at it." The sound of her laughter broke him open. Tears filled his eyes, slipping down his cheeks before he could stop them. He bowed his head, ashamed of the emotions rushing through him, but Zara reached out, her small hand brushing against his sleeve. "Papa, why are you crying?" Marcus looked at her, his voice breaking. "Because I'm happy, and because I'm sorry. I should have been here." I should have been with you. For a moment, silence hung between them. Then Zara crawled closer, wrapping her arms around him. She was small, so small against his chest, and yet her embrace felt stronger than anything he had ever built. Maria turned away, giving them privacy, her own eyes glistening with quiet understanding. The fire crackled, the markers rolled across the carpet, and Marcus held his daughter as if he would never let go again. That evening stretched long and gentle. They drew together, laughed together, and when the flames in the fireplace dimmed, Marcus carried Zara to her bed. She fell asleep quickly, her hand still clutching the red marker he had used. He stood by her bedside, watching her breathe, his heart heavy with regret but also light with a new kind of hope. Downstairs, Maria waited quietly. Marcus thanked her with a voice thick with emotion, and for the first time in years, he sat alone in his living room not with silence, but with memory, the sound of Zara's laughter still echoing in the walls. He knew he could not erase the years he had missed. But he also knew something else. Tomorrow, and the day after, and every day beyond, he would come home early. He would make space for the small, fragile moments that built a life. And as he sat there, watching the dying glow of the fire, Marcus realized he was wealthier than he had ever understood. Not because of the empire he had built, not because of the millions in his accounts, but because of the little girl upstairs who had given him a second chance. For the first time in years, Marcus smiled through his tears. He was home.